Hi again. Page 158 of Three Worlds, A Plan of Redemption. Nelson Barbour continues his explanation of the 2300 days of Daniel 8:14. The 1843 argument, which I consider to be true in all its essential parts, was that the vision of the 8th chapter was explained in the 9th, and that the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation necessarily refers to the Jews as far as the daily sacrifices is concerned. And in Daniel 9 verse 21, Gabriel, who had appeared to him in the vision at the beginning, that is the vision of the 8th chapter, see verse 16, refers him back to that vision and says, 70 weeks are determined on thy people and thy holy city. That is 70 weeks of the vision of the 2300 days. 70 weeks are 490 days, then 490 days of the 2300 were determined on the Jews. And what for? To finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to seal up the vision and the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. See verse 24. All this was accomplished in Christ's suffering and death, and as 70 weeks were determined on them for the above purpose, it is equivalent to saying, the Jews, your people, must be kept together until the Messiah shall come and accomplish the work for which he is to be sent. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. That's Daniel 9:25. That is 69 weeks unto his advent, leaving the other 1 week for confirming the covenant, which could not be of force, Paul tells us, until the death of the testator. The connection between the 24th and 25th verses is absolute proof that the 70 weeks, the 7, the 62, and the 1 week are all the same period of time. 70 weeks are determined on thy people. Know therefore, in consequence of that it shall be 7 weeks, etc. Of the silly applications made since those days have ended, or within the last 30 years, in which all connection between the 70 weeks and the minor parts which go to make up that number have been ignored, thus making 4 distinct periods, all separate and independent of one another, we have no space or desire even to notice. As the above 6 specific purposes named in the 24th verse of chapter 9 were accomplished at the first advent of Christ, the 70 weeks determined for their accomplishment, of course, ended there, and thus 490 of the 2300 days ended at or about the time of the crucifixion. There is some obscurity in relation to the ending of the last week. The 43 position was that Christ preached 7 years, and hence the last week ended at his death in AD 33. But as that position cannot be maintained, since the evidence is clear that he only preached 3.5 years, it would appear that the last week of the 70 did not end until the conversion of Cornelius, the first Gentile. But for some reason, God has left this 1 week obscure, and neither the Bible or history give any further light on that point. Hence, the exact date of the end of the 2300 days cannot be determined to within the limits of 3.5 years. As 490 years of the 2300 ended at or about the time of the crucifixion, that is AD 33, the ending of the balance of the days can be determined. 490 from 2300 leaves 1810. Therefore, 1810 years after the ending of the 70 weeks must mark the end of the longer period, and 1810 added to AD 33 reached to 1843. Now this seems to be a revision, or it has been revised since by the Watchtower in their chronology, so that the 70 weeks reaches to 3.5 years after the crucifixion, which they still teach is 33. So they have the 70 weeks expiring with the conversion of Cornelius around 36. But he seems to be clinging to the year 33 here as the expiration of 70 weeks. This, together with the strong position that the 1260 days of papal dominion ended in 1798, was the basis of the Advent proclamation, the opening message of the seventh trumpet, or the trump of God, and the 2300 days as a prophetic period measuring a part of the vision of Daniel 8 has served its purpose. And as the reader can see, all that pertains, either directly or indirectly, to the cleansing of the sanctuary belongs after the days have ended. We have done a video on this other than the one updating their new light on the 2300, which they now of course bring into this last century and forget all about their original interpretation, which was the same as the Adventist interpretation, that it expired in the year 1843. But one thing I do like is that Barbour and Russell are connecting all of this to Israel, and that is accurate. So we'll put in a link to our exposition of Daniel 8 and the last chapters of Daniel, and to the Daniel playlist.